Hey guys, Shot the Monkey here. So, as promised, I want to bring you a first impression slash review of the new Tier 6 premium medium tank for the British, the Sherman Firefly 5C. Had a chance to have a couple more games with it over the weekend after the first bit of gameplay that you saw me put out a couple of days ago. Didn't get the review done in time over the weekend because I was just busy doing other things and playing games with the people. But I had some time to play the Sherman and get used to it, and now I can give you my thoughts on it. So, first of all, do I think the vehicle was worth purchasing for the price? And the answer is yeah, pretty much. It's not a brilliant vehicle by any stretch of the imagination. It's not that bad either. I know a while back Quickie Baby brought a review out on this thing, and he said that it's a tank that Wargaming shouldn't be releasing because it is just better than the regular Tech Tree version. And while I agree, there are stats in this case that it has that are straight up better than the Tech Tree version, I don't think it makes this tank overpowered. Let me explain why. The reason this tank is overpowered, if you want to call it that, compared to the regular Firefly, is because its gun handling capabilities, the damage it can put out, etc., is better than the Tech Tree Firefly. Here's my justification for why that doesn't necessarily make this vehicle overpowered. It has the same amount of hit points and the same amount of armour. So that gun being better is only useful so long as the vehicle is alive, and this tank is still just as fragile as the regular Tech Tree one. So if you're in a team with a regular Tech Tree Firefly and the enemy team has got one of these, if this dies, the enemy team has lost more than your team has if your Firefly dies. And that's probably another way to look at it. That's just my opinion. If this thing does receive a nerf in the future to its gun stats, I may redo a review, after that nerf if it comes. Hopefully it isn't too drastic. I don't think it really needs to be. I could feasibly see maybe a drop in rate of fire and that would solve it, because everything else to me seems pretty nice and seems pretty fair for the vehicle. Anyway, getting into that. Is this tank worth it? Yes. Why should you buy it? This to me kind of fits that role that the Cromwell B, which you can see down here, and then you've got the AC4. Between the three of them at tier 6, they all fit kind of one of the three spectrums of a tank. And the way that I look at that as a tank is mobility, firepower and protection. And they all kind of focus towards one of these three aspects. With the AC4, you have got a medium tank that's focused a bit more towards protection with the hit points and the armour. As you notice, the hit points on it are the same as the Sherman Firefly and the same as the Cromwell B. However, its armour values, at least on paper, are the best. And also it's got all these funky little angles that can help you ricochet shells that come in. It's possibly the least mobile of all of them, but the firepower is mediocre. So I think it puts it in the middle of the Cromwell B, the Sherman Firefly, and itself, I think, goes in the middle of that for firepower. The Cromwell B, of course, really quick tank, not the best for survivability, armour values aren't brilliant, and it's flat pretty much everywhere. So, with this armour value, what you see is what you get. There's no extra added for effective angles, really, that much. But mobility-wise, really nice power to weight, specific power ratio, nice top speed, nice reverse, got some nice traverse speeds as well, good engine power, really mobile tank. The firepower lets it down. It's inferior to its regular Tech Tree counterpart because it can't use that longer barreled gun that the regular Tech Tree can, and its armour is possibly, I'd say kind of in the middle of the three, because the armour values, at least on the front of the turret, is still 76, which is reasonably nice, if not great. You will bounce some tier 5s, some tier 4s, but you can't rely on it. Then when you move on to the Firefly is all about this gun. It's all about the firepower. Its mobility is what you'd expect from a Sherman. It's nothing amazing, it's not that bad either. You only really notice the downside of this thing when you're going up hills, because I think it has a weaker engine compared to the Tech Tree version of it. The armour is, again, not reliable, but as you can see here, you still have 76 on the front of the turret, but you have it angled and you have this gun mantle in the way, so you can and sometimes will bounce shots off it, even off the front of the hull if it's angled, to the side and shots are coming in, but it's not reliable. But the gun is what makes this tank. So the way you could compare this almost is similar to a turreted tank destroyer. Similar to something like the Achilles or the Jackson or the maybe not the Hellcat, of course the Hellcat has the speed, but yeah, similar to an Achilles or a Jackson. You're basically playing a medium version of what they would be. So in that case, because I'll keep that in mind, my equipment for it has been improved ventilation class 2, gun rammer, and then vertical stabilizer. You could go for the tank destroyer setup, of binocular telescope, camouflage net, and then your choice of a third equipment, and I think it would still work that way. This tank is not a vehicle you should really be putting on the front line. It's designed to stay towards the middle of combat, maybe further towards the back, and you just want to put shots in anything that exposes itself to you, because you have wonderful penetration with standard ammo of 171, and if you load APCR, that penetration goes up to 239 to 218 depending on the range you're shooting at, and that's more than enough for a tier 6 medium tank, especially if you can get the flanks of heavies at tier 8, but even then sometimes you just don't need it. Yeah, outside of that, reasonable vehicle. You can do some nice things with the view range, especially if you choose to put coated optics on this vehicle and get some crew skills up there. The concealment is adequate. It's nothing amazing, but it's acceptable. Mobility is acceptable. Survivability is kind of on par with what you'd expect for a tier 6 medium vehicle. There are tier 6 mediums in the game that would do better than it. For example, things like the Poodle, I can think of as an example of a more heavily armoured medium tank. It's not the worst out of tier 6 though. You can certainly you can use the armour, although it's best to be in a position where you don't have to. Yeah, all in all, for the price that this thing costs to get just the tank and the garage slot with it, yeah, definitely worth a buy, definitely worth picking up. Yeah, I think that's it for the review. I'll show you one extra game that I had in it, which isn't a spectacular game by any regards, but you will see this gun in action and you will see this tank in the role that I think it fits well, which is a supporting role, where you've got one or two tanks up in front of you that can kind of muck around and take hit and do some brawling, and then what you can do is either back them up by shooting targets they're engaged with, or by shooting other targets that are involved in that engagement from a range, or just other targets that happen to be nearby that might be spotting somebody or putting extra pressure on your team. Yeah, I'll let you see that. But yeah, that's my first impressions and review on the Sherman Firefly. If you guys are looking for a tier 6 medium tank, either for the British or just in general, this isn't a bad place to start. I've personally found the tank really enjoyable, especially with the gun. It's nice to have that comfort of knowing that 9 times out of 10, if you put a shot down range and the shot's on target, it's going to penetrate whatever it is you're shooting at, even with standard ammo. And you're not reliant on spamming gold, which is something that's become part of the meta these days, and it's a bit of a disappointment. And I'm quite happy to see that they brought out a tank that, like the Tech Tree version, the premium one kind of breaks that mould of being reliable with standard ammo. And if Wargaming brings out more tanks, either premium versions of, Tech Tree vehicles or different vehicles that have reliable standard ammo for the tier that they're at and the matchmaking bracket that they get, excellent, more power to them. Okay, that's my opinion on it. I'll let you guys watch the very short game I've got lined up for you. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Newcomer is hit.